Hey guys, welcome to my first video of 2026. I'm sure most of my returning audience have heard of the subject of this review before, with its infamy rivaling even a masterpiece like The Room. I'm talking about Troll 2, of course. This is a film so bad that it apparently caused a formative memory in its child actor, Michael Stevenson, upon his first watch, but not for the reason you may assume. I thought that I was going to be a movie star. I thought that this was the next Gremlins or the next Labyrinth. We put the VHS in and we all sat around the TV, and 7 seconds in, my dad's jaw dropped and he said, "Oh Michael, this is a terrible movie." Little did Stevenson know, he did become a movie star, just not in the way he originally intended. So, is Troll 2 really that bad? Let's find out. Without further ado, on with the review.
Polos is life, 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 sleep all night and then Polos is life.
The film opens with a strange narration by someone telling a story to their grandson about a young man named Peter lost in a forest. Peter's outfit is a bit odd, but, you know, you do you and all. A band of goblins circle the wayward traveller, and he tries to escape while we get some oddly placed and low-budget opening credits. Peter ends up doing a forward roll and hitting his head somehow, which I think is meant to be him tripping over. When he comes to, he sees a girl with obviously drawn-on freckles. She feeds him this disgusting-looking bright green sludge. To be honest, I don't see why you'd eat something so foul-looking, but he may have been concussed. After doing so, the crew pour green-coloured water on Peter. He sweats chlorophyll green. He turns into a half-man, half-plant thing, and the goblins eat him. The grandfather, Grandpa Seth, warns his grandson Joshua, our protagonist, that goblins are still very much real, just before Joshua's mum walks in and it's revealed that Grandpa Seth has been dead for a while. Spooky. I actually do like the idea of Seth coming to warn Joshua from beyond the grave, but the acting just doesn't sell it. The dialogue is just so flat, and the actors have clearly just memorized their lines without much thought or directorial prompting.
It was also very difficult for your father, and for Holly, and for me, his daughter.
There's a really weird scene where the mum walks in on her daughter Holly working out, chuckles and leaves. I get that they're trying to introduce the characters, but she could have just said goodnight to her or asked if she needed anything. We then hear the dad arranging a house swap trip to a small rural town called Nilbog, which will essentially be the story's catalyst. Joshua hears some noises outside his room and goes to open the window, where he sees a boy trying to climb into the house using a ladder, and mistakes him for a goblin. This is just Holly's boyfriend Elliot, although she doesn't seem to like him much. Here we get one of the biggest examples of the crazy dialogue that this film is known for.
Are you nuts? You trying to turn me into a homo?
Wouldn't it be too hard? If my father discovers you here, he'd cut off your little nuts and eat them.
It's made clear that Elliot spends a lot of time with his bros, and he offers to go to Nilbog with Holly. I've seen enough of these movies to know that this is just a way to increase the number of bodies. Regardless, Holly's family don't wait to pick up Elliot, and he's left behind, having to make his own way to Nilbog with the help of his friends. Joshua has a grotesque nightmare about being turned into goblin food, while his family turn into goblins. After he wakes up, he sees Grandpa Seth on the side of the road, but realizes he's actually just a random hitchhiker. The town seems empty when they arrive, which creeps out Holly and Joshua.
This is a farming community. Remember, at this time, and not everybody goes to sleep.
But it's the daytime. Anyways, when the family drive on, we get some spooky shots of the townspeople coming out of the shadows. Joshua is suspicious of the family that they're swapping houses with, which is a holiday method I've never heard of, and notices clover-shaped marks on their skin. Okay, maybe they all have a skin condition? They're a family.
Yeah, it's got a microwave and video, all the other appliances.
Why are you still talking? They can't hear you. When the family enter the house, they find a spread of green food on the table, and an apparition of Grandpa Seth tells Joshua that he must stop them before they become plant food. Seth stops time for 30 seconds to give Joshua an opportunity to come up with a solution. And you know what he does? That's right. He pisses on the food, enraging his father.
And you can't piss on hospitality. I won't allow it!
He interprets this as Joshua going on a hunger strike, and makes some weird comment about how he's better at overcoming hunger than him. Elliot's friend, Arnold, steps outside their camper van and chases a scared girl through a forest, just like Peter. But the girl seems to be a victim of the goblins who Arnold tries to make peace with.
Let me give you some advice, you dwarfs. Get out of here, or you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
You're a fucking idiot.
The goblins don't really take this seriously and literally spear the guy, but the girl helps him run to a strange chapel-like building, which looks like the lair of a witch's coven. On that note, the best character in the film appears.
I am Credence Leonor Gielgud of ancient druid origins.
She understood the assignment. She gives the pair some green broth, which, of course, turns them into goblin food. It works on the girl immediately, but it seems to be taking its time with Arnold. As the goblins get ready to tuck in, we get some amazing commentary from Arnold.
They're eating her, and then they're going to eat me. Oh my god!
Credence seems very pleased with herself and calls the goblins her children, so I assume she's some kind of goblin queen. In the next very awkward and cringy scene, Holly practices some dance moves before hyping herself up about confronting Elliot in the mirror. She sees a weird apparition of Grandpa Seth's head, which naturally freaks her out. Who's betting on half the budget going towards that effect? Joshua agrees to swap rooms with her so he can communicate with Grandpa Seth, who tells Joshua that he must get his family to leave Nilbog. The following morning, Elliot's group sends one of their other members, Drew, to get supplies, and Joshua and his father go on the same mission. The sheriff picks up Drew and gives him a green pastry or something, and the man at the store seems pretty disturbed.
Bacon? Are you crazy, boy? We're vegetarians here in Nilbog. Didn't you know that?
When Drew starts sweating green, a group of men tell him to head to the chapel to meet Arnold. And on that note, he's been gone a while, no? Some friends these guys are. While waiting with his father outside, Joshua notices in a wing mirror that Nilbog is actually goblin backwards. What is this, The Shining? Meanwhile, Credence enters the house that the family is staying in uninvited, to give them a cursed green pudding and supply unsettling commentary. The intrusion alone is just weird. Joshua finds and spies on a goblin sermon, and accidentally knocks his skateboard into it, alerting them to his presence. They try to force-feed Joshua ice cream, but his father interrupts this, although he doesn't believe Joshua's story. Drew makes his way to the chapel and tries to rescue the now half-plant Arnold, which Credence has been maintaining. The witch happens to walk in on this and strikes Drew so hard he flies across the room and onto the bed, and she chainsaws part of Arnold off to turn into a smoothie. The townspeople hold a feast for Joshua's family, and Joshua is sent to his room for calling them goblins. There, Credence, in her true goblin form, tries to attack Joshua, but Grandpa Seth appears and cuts off her hand. She heals herself, and Seth and Joshua hatch a plan to literally blow the goblins up with a Molotov cocktail. But the family are inside as well? The goblin preacher from earlier stomps the pair and banishes Grandpa Seth, but the old man smites the goblin before he disappears. Joshua's dad sees the preacher running around on fire, and when he tries to use an extinguisher on him, only a goblin remains. The townspeople turn on them, and Credence ushers in an early night. She also turns herself into a pretty woman, which is just her with less makeup. She appears on the campus television and seduces Brent, but it seems more like he's in a weird trance. They make out with a cord on the cob, causing popcorn to appear and drown Brent. Joshua and his family hide in the house and try to hold a seance for Grandpa Seth, which does work, but for only 10 minutes. For these 10 minutes, Joshua is transported to Credence's lair while the goblins storm the house, and Seth gives Joshua a bag that he can only use when he needs it the most. How convenient. They touch the stone, turning Credence back into an old woman, and the goblins rush to her aid. With this, Seth disappears forever. Credence and the goblins apprehend Joshua and prepare to feed him some kind of gross goblin pie, but Joshua has a trick up his sleeve.
A double-decker bologna sandwich!
He escapes, and his family arrives so they can all touch the stone together. This seems to defeat the goblins. When they arrive at their home, Joshua's dad stops at his office and Elliot and Holly go to Elliot's house. Joshua's mum eats some apples in the kitchen, and Joshua hears some whispering from his mirror while he's in his room. He goes to find his mum, who's taking a shower, and finds that the shower and kitchen are full of goblin food. I think the characters in the film are pretty dumb. They sent a goblin family to their house. Why would you eat any of the food you found there? And with that, the film ends. So, what did I think of Troll 2? I think it's a fun watch. I thought it was alright, although obviously very poorly made. I saw the film when I was a kid and found it very odd that it was called Troll 2, when the antagonists are always referred to as goblins in the film. Apparently it was originally called Goblins, but its title was changed to cash in on the 1986 flop Troll, which I'm also very interested in reviewing at some point. The marketing in general is odd to me. The trolls in the film do not look like this, and who the hell is this kid? The ultimate reason this film is such a mess is its production was apparently riddled with problems. The film's writer, Rossella Drudi, apparently wrote it to spite her vegetarian friends, which does explain the strange premise and conclusion. On top of this, the costume designer was the only member of the Italian production crew capable of communicating with the American cast in English, and director Claudio Fragasso insisted that the actors deliver his lines without ad-libs despite the cast pointing out the strange dialogue.
Scared the shit out of me!
I'm the victim of a nocturnal rapture.
I think that Troll 2 was probably doomed from the start, but its saving grace is definitely the performance from Deborah Reed, who played the Goblin Queen Credence. Every scene she's in is entertaining, and she definitely knew exactly the kind of film she was starring in and acted accordingly.
About the cholesterol!
A documentary made by Stevenson about the making of Troll 2 and its subsequent popularity was released in 2009. Don Packard, who played the shopkeeper, opened up about how his performance wasn't acting and that he was really having a mental health crisis during filming.
And I realized I was really troubled. I wasn't acting. I can tell you that I wasn't acting. That was a troubled person talking.
Various other cast and crew members appear, notably George Hardy, and I'd really recommend watching it. To summarise, Troll 2 fails in every way to be a true horror movie. However, I really think it does have merit to it, and there's a sort of confused sincerity to it, and the actors clearly wanted to make a decent film for the most part. I'd really recommend giving it a watch, but I'd suggest snacking on popcorn rather than any green slop. Well, that's all for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.
The blue and green ones are my favorite kind, but I'll eat the colored ones from time to time. Cause Polos is life, 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 Polos is life. Sleep all night.